Hi all. Today very excited to teach one of the simple and basic libraries in JavaScript, React, and React and Redux. Okay. So what we are planning in this video is we are going to try to do a project, simple and basic project using React, and then we are going to introduce changes to bring Redux into the same project. So this project is going to be very simple. It is just going to show you a list of employees. Okay. The data being fetched from a node server using Axios in React. And we are also going to do changes to edit the name and position held and to delete the employee. And afterwards, we are also going to add a login page to the application and see how in React we are able to toggle the states to make React show a particular page. Okay, and I will also be adding this completed project into a GitHub location so that you can download and refer to it. Okay, by means of doing this project, what we are going to achieve in React is first we are going to see a React introduction, and we are going to create a class and functional components, and we are going to see how we can pass on the values from a base class component to a functional the employee component, and from how we are able to pass on the values, how we are able to call the functions from a functional to class component. So basically using props, that is property and event binding in React. And then we are going to see about state in React, and we are also going to use Axios so that we are able to receive the values from the node server what we will be running. And we will also be adding, as I specified, I will be also adding login page. You will be seeing how we are able to add a login page to a React application, and how we are able to show in React how we are able to achieve it to show two different pages using the states in React. And at last in React, we also will be seeing about React lifecycle methods. Okay. Now, in case of Redux, what we are going to do is we will be seeing we will be trying to understand Redux, all the actions reducers, whatever is available, and then we will be seeing how we can integrate put the Redux in React, how we can integrate Redux in React using the React Redux module available. Okay, and how we are able to move the states, all the states which is available in a React application to Redux. Okay, Redux framework, and afterwards we will also be seeing about the middlewares. Why we need a middleware is like because when we get the values from node server, the values will not be instant. Okay, so we have to delay calling the reducer to change the state. Okay, for delaying that calling the reducer, we need a middleware. So we'll be seeing how we can use Redux Thunk, the middleware, to achieve what we need. Actually, that is for after once we receive the data from the node server, then only we will be changing the employee state. Okay, that is the all the employees list which we get from the node server. So only after that we will be should be able to set the state. Till that it is not possible because it is asynchronous, right? And afterwards we will also be seeing about the Redux plugin in Chrome, which you can use to see the Redux store in a Chrome browser. Okay. Now without any delays, we will start with creating the React project first, and then we will move on to Redux, introducing Redux into React. Okay.
So, welcome all. In this session, we are going to learn React by developing a simple project. So, before starting the project, we will have a short introduction about React. So if you take React, it is just a simple library. It is not an environment. It is very simple library which is used for only developing the user interfaces. This is the first point. And in React, we create components using JSX. With JSX, you can combine all the three: CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. You have to understand, and we will see in depth in JSX when we are developing the project. The third thing is, just to let you know how simple it is to create a component React, just by using these 4 lines, you can develop a React component. So this particular thing is a, though it looks like a HTML, it is JSX. Okay. So with these 4 lines, we can create a React component. So shows how simple it is. Okay. And in React, we have only components, no directive services controllers in Angular. Only it is used for developing user components. In MVC, it just points to the view, nothing else. It doesn't have a controller service or directive. We are only going to develop a user component. Okay, okay. And the third thing is, it is very simple that it can also be put inside an Angular application using ng-react. This shows how simple it is. Okay, the React can also, once you write in React using React Native, it can be also developed as a mobile application. Okay, so what we are going to develop in this session, we are going to develop this simple project which has a login page and a home page where it shows a list of employees, and this list of employees comes from a server actually, and we will have a logout button and login button, and we will have a username and password. So for this, we'll have a username and password hard coded in the server. Okay, once that particular username and password is entered by the user and presses submit, it will move on to the home page where we will show the list of employees with a provision to log out. Once the user presses on logout, he will be able to proceed to the login page. And all these things should be editable. Okay, the employee name and position held, all this should be editable. And we should also add a provision to delete the employee if the user wishes. So this is going to be a project what we are going to design. So we are going to have 16 steps by which we are going to develop this project. You can see this. So by these 16 steps, we will be developing the project. So let's proceed with the first requirement, that is to create a skeleton React application using React CLI. Okay. Once you download Node, you will be getting that npx using which you can create a React project. Okay, just the requirement is you go to your Google browser and download Node. Once you download Node, you will have that npm installed in your machine. Once based on your MSI, you install the MSI 64-bit or 32-bit if it is Windows or Mac OS. Choose the corresponding installer and install the node. Once you install the node and open command prompt and move to a particular folder, and using npx create React app. So this is the thing, npx create React app and the name of the application. I will give the name of the application as React test. Okay, I will just give enter now. So this should be creating the skeleton of the application over which we can develop our own application. It just gives a skeleton of the application. So over this we can modify it for our own terms. Okay. So let's wait for it to download. This actually creates the React test and also downloads the necessary packages required like React, React DOM, and all those. And even for deploying the React application, it does the development server also for you. Okay, let's wait for it to create. Now it has completed creating the skeleton React project. Let's open that in VS Code to explore further. Okay, sorry. So I will open that. Oh, it was named as React test, right? Okay, I'll just open that application. So this is what it created. If you explore the files it has created, it will have app.js, okay, and it will have index.js, everything, okay. So this is where it starts. Actually, what we are doing is just have a simple understanding. The React DOM anyway will create from scratch. So this React DOM renders the application onto the root, which is present in index.html. So in any web application, it all starts with index.html. In this index.html, you will find the root application, root div. So onto this div, inside this div, the React DOM inserts the React component. If you see as per the index.js, so it just finds the root element and inserts this React application inside the root div, which is present in index.html. Okay, this is what it happens. Okay, so let's I will just start the application. Maybe we will understand further by working with scratch on this. Okay, anyway we are going to modify this. Okay, let me start. For starting, the packages are already installed because the npx takes care of also installing the packages. Okay, so here if you go inside and see, you can use this shortcut to start the application. If you go to the package.json, you will find the shortcut start. So making use of the start cut, I will start the application now. Okay, so I will give now npm start. Okay, so let's wait for it to start. So what it actually does is it starts the webpack dev server and puts all our code. It actually using webpack, it creates the bundle and hosts our our complete application, gives that complete bundle to the front end. Basically, if you see here, once let it deploy, then I will show you that. So the webpack is also installed as part of this installation. If you go inside and see, you can see also the webpack dependency installed. So it actually starts the webpack dev server and creates the bundle using our complete whatever the code we have written, and gives the complete bundle to the front end. Okay, and it comes to the backend only for data. That's what it happens in client side rendering. You have to understand, even Angular or React, everything works in the similar manner. Okay, so let me show you. So this is what, yeah, skeleton React application what the React CLI created for me. Okay, so so let me delete all this and let's create a functional component, and I will try to make you understand. So this is our first requirement, right? As per this, the first requirement is to create a functional component. There are two components which you can create in React, functional and class. So let's first create a functional component. Okay, so let me delete all this code. Maybe I will delete all this. For creating, now I have to create the component, and I will ask it to React to render it onto the root element which is present in the index.html by using React DOM. Okay, the first requirement is importing the libraries. Okay, what you have to do is, the main thing you React need is import React from React. This is the first requirement what you need, and this is needed for converting your JSX into JavaScript code. Okay, you will understand it better when we go inside that JSX. And for rendering the React DOM onto the root element, root div element present in your index.html, you require React DOM as well. Okay, these two are required now. So you can see this. Okay, now we have imported the libraries. We require React DOM and React. Now let's create a functional component. How to create a functional component? The creating a functional component is very simple in React. We have to just return a JSX element. Okay, so let me so just understand that it should be, any component in React should start with capital letters. Okay, and I'm using JSX to create a function, and to create a component you have to just return JSX. Okay, you understand? So I will just return JSX. This is, though it looks like HTML, it is JavaScript. It gets converted as JavaScript. This element gets converted as JavaScript. You can just go inside and see this is a JSX div, not a normal div, what you see in HTML page. Okay. Now you have created a functional component. Now you have to ask React DOM to render it, render this functional component onto your index.html page, right? For that you just use React DOM dot made a small mistake. Okay, it is from React DOM actually, not React, and it should be like this. Okay, React DOM. Okay, now try to get the render method from that, and here you have to, the first parameter will be the component, and the second parameter is where you want React DOM to render the React component into. So this is like, I want to render this app, whatever you have made it up, into document dot get element ID equal to root, because we have only a root div element in the index.html. Okay, let's create it. So read this document, right? So now it has completed. Let us see whether we are able to see hello in our page. So we are able to, we successfully created a functional component in React. So now to understand better how it works, okay, So when you do localhost HTML, right? The index.html is the first page which will get loaded in any application. Okay. If you see the page source here, right? If you inspect, no, I want to see the page source, right? Not able to see that. If you see the page source here, you will see the same file, index.html, but you will see these lines getting added, right? So these lines are getting added by the React CLI. So what it does, the React CLI does is, when you start the application, it will start the Webpack dev server and host it onto 3000. And it also using Webpack, it builds a bundle, okay, and gives it to the front end. So the bundle is actually given is present in this path, though it is hidden by the we can't see it here, that bundle we can't see it here, but it gets created. Okay, when you start the application, it gets created and it is given to the front end. Okay, so you can also see that bundle here. You see the sources, right? You will see the bundle here. So this bundle will have all our files create whatever we ran we created, right? That everything is present here. You can see hello and everything present here. Functional component and whatever we wrote is present here. So all the HTML, CSS, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is bundled as a single file, a single bundle file, and given to the front end. And using this bundle, it will do. If you have another component, that also will be fetched from this bundle, but only for data. Maybe for employee data, it will go to the backend to fetch the data. Otherwise, it never needs to go to the backend. Okay, so by this way the efficiency is greatly improved in case of React or Angular, because these are client side technologies. Okay, so we have all the necessary HTML, CSS, JavaScript in the front end itself through the bundle built by Webpack. Okay, okay, so let's proceed with the next. We have created a functional component, so let's proceed with the next topic. So let's proceed with the next step, like introduction to JSX. Okay, I was keep saying that this is whatever we wrote, right? We actually wrote here. Okay, this is a JSX element, not a JavaScript element, right? This is a JSX, not HTML. Though it looks like HTML, it is actually JavaScript actually. The JSX, what really happens is this is getting converted by JSX compiler, okay, to JavaScript. Okay, so you can also wonder here, we never use React. Why we have to import this line? Okay, so because when this is getting converted, this gets converted to React.create element. So we can see how it gets converted. If you go to this page, Babel Playground, if you have go to that page, you will see that how this is getting converted. This JSX is getting converted, okay, to JavaScript. Just go to this page. Okay, so this is what we wrote, right? This is how it is getting converted. Okay, can see this is how it gets. This is JSX code, and just by JSX compiler it gets converted to React.create element, because here we have React, right? That's why in our page we need a React. Okay, because when it runs, it will throw, else it will throw error that React is not present in your page when this gets converted by JSX compiler to JavaScript. Okay, is it mandatory to write a JSX? Is nothing but a extension to JavaScript. So we also saw in React we can write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the same JSX. all the three can be represented in the JS sets. Okay, so JS sets, if you see, it is an extension to JavaScript. It is not mandatory to write our React components in JS sets. You can easily write it like this. You can, instead of returning a JS sets element, you can do the conversion, return it yourself. But just for convenience for the developers, we are writing in JS sets. Okay, this also will work now. Okay, if you go to the page, React page, it also will work. This also prints hello, you can see that. So JSX is just as a convenience for the developer, because if you have a nested, right, it will be very difficult to, for this it may look simple for you. Okay, for this it may look simple, but if you have a nested element, maybe inside the div I have a many span. Okay, a couple of spans. Okay, after that, this inside this div I have many span elements. Okay, maybe I have something. We just copy paste this. You can understand how complex it becomes. So you have to return this instead of this, which is looks very simple, but this looks very complex in case of nested, when you want to write a nested HTML. So this is also more error prone. So it is more preferable to use JSX. Okay. Now, hope you understood what is JSX. Okay. So that's why we write JSX just as a convenience for the developers. Now our next step will be to move this to a separate, this component, the function component we wrote, we will move to a separate file. Okay. So how to move it is our next challenge. Okay. So let me, we already have app.js. So I'm not creating it. I will delete all this, whatever is present in that app.js. Okay, and I will copy the function component we wrote to that app.js. Okay, so I can delete it here, and React is also needed there, because for converting this JSX into JavaScript element, once it converts, it becomes React.create element, so it will require React. So I am adding React, and for using this component in index.js, you need export constant. We can export it as a default component, default app. Okay, using ESX import. Okay, ESX we have AMD common JS module system and ESX module system. Using ESX module system, I am just exported it. Now I can use it in this file using import. Okay, now to use it in this file, I will import this app, and I can do it without that flower braces because I have done a default export. Okay, app. Okay, no need of JS, because for JS that .js is optional. Okay, now we have imported the app from that app file, right? We have moved the function component here, and we have exported, and now we have also imported. Now it should work because I already have that app here. Now this will be rendered in the root element. Now let's see whether it is working. We'll close all this so that you understand better. Now also you can see that hello. Okay. Okay. This is the next step is done for us. Now let's move on to the next step. The next step is making the functional component as a class component. As I told you earlier, we have two types of components in React. The function component. This is a function component. Now let us make it as a class component. what is how to make it as a class component is very simple. Okay, in a function component we just return, but in a class component we have to return it inside render method. Okay, and this class component should extend from component. Okay, and we have to return it inside render method. So it is a render method. So we have returned it inside the render method, and for making it as a class component, just add ESH class and say extend component. Component is also imported from React. So that's it. Now this also should work for us. Okay, it is working. So these are the major differences, and the other major differences is for a class component, the class component will be able to access the state and props. Okay, state and props are accessible, and also you can access the lifecycle hooks like component did mount. We have different lifecycle hooks like all these. Okay, these methods called as lifecycle hooks are called when the component is in that particular state. Maybe when the component is mounted, this will get called, and is about to get mounted, this lifecycle hook will get called. And these lifecycle hooks are only you can add it only for class component. Okay, and this will be called when that particular state happens in the component. Maybe when the component gets mounted, whatever code happens here will get executed. Okay, this is one difference, and all the components, class component will be able to refer to state. You can see state, it will be able to have all the class components have a particular state. Okay, so will all the instance will have a reference to the state. Okay, and props also it will get access to. The props are nothing but how the properties which are sent from the parent. These properties you can also access it in function components, but the difference between class and function components, if you take the class components will be able to have access to the lifecycle methods, that is lifecycle hooks like component did mount and the state. Okay, this dot state you can't access it in a functional component. So all the class components will be able to refer to the state. What is the state basically? State is nothing but or like external dependencies. Maybe for our project, right? For the employee project, what we were seen till now, if you take the external dependencies based on which your application is dependent upon. Okay, for us the external dependencies are these employees which we get from the user. These are external dependencies, and the other external dependency is the username password what the user enters. That is also an external dependency, right? What the user enters, and based on whether if he enters the correct username and password and he presses on submitted, there will be a state. Okay, login state, whether it is true or false. That is also a external dependency based on which we will be showing the login page or the employee page. Okay, when he enters, I will reiterate, when he enters the correct username and password and we press on submit, and we can maintain another state called logged in. Okay, so once he enters it, we will make the logged in which was false as true, so that we show the employee page. So the states are nothing but the external dependencies. Okay, so for our application the states may be like this, though we will see that implemented later. Just to for you to understand, the state for our application may be like this: the complete employees, which is a list, and username and password which is entered by the user, password, and we can also maintain a state called logged in state, and we can also maintain an error. If he enters a wrong username and password, maybe we can update the error state so that we show this error to the user in the login page. Okay, this is all the external dependencies we have for this application, which we can maintain in the state for the application. So this state is not present for the functional component. So if we want to update the state, the functional component has to tell it to the parent class component to update the state. It can't update, it does not have a state, so it cannot update. It has to tell it to the propagate it to the parent class component to update the state. So you have to understand. Okay, hope you understood. So these are the big differences with the class component. Okay, so this is what I wanted to make you understand. Okay, so this is the things we did now introduced. So let us move to the next step, making a single employee functional component. Okay, so first let us return. Right now what it is present here is like we are returning hello. Now I want to return something like what as per our I want to return a single employee component. Later we will make it as a list. Uh, we will make it iterate through a list so that we can see a uh, many employee components. So first let us create a return a single employee component. Okay, that will be a first step. So let us return a single employee JSX. Then we will create a employee, separate employee in another file and make it to return. So let us do that. Instead of doing hello, we will do in that way. Okay. For doing that, let us move to our code. So instead of this, I want to return a employee component, right? So you have to understand that when it moves across lines, it is always recommended to put it in this. Okay. And other thing you need to understand is in while returning, right, you have to have only a single root. You can't have multiple roots. Okay, you can't have like this. If you have like this, it will throw error. Okay, you can't have it like this. You can see we are getting error right here, right? So it should have only a single root. Inside that single root, you can have multiple spans or diffs. So let me create inside this. Let me create a div. Okay, and let this div have multiple divs. Okay, so that we can be able to return employee name, date of birth, and position held. Okay. So I will copy it 3 times. And what we have to do inside this is a label. Okay. This is not a HTML label. You can see that it is a JSX label. Okay. So have it. So there will be certain differences. Okay. And we will have an input element for this employee name so that any user can edit that. Okay. Okay. For this, let me create a value. Let this be for time being ABC or something. Okay. And it is type text. That is the default value anyway. Okay. Let me copy paste this so that I don't recreate. So the next one is date of birth for that employee. I will make it as DOB. Okay, and let this value be something 10 underscore 10 2010, something like this, and position held. Okay, and I will have it as value to be manager. Okay, understood. So now let us see whether this is getting returned instead of hello. So we are able to see that value here. I also need a border and a padding. So let me add a CSS. We already have app.css. I will delete all this value and I will add something employee class or something. Maybe employee style. And we will add something here. So we want to add a border for this. Let this border be 1 pixel solid green. And let me add a padding of 10 pixels. So how to add this style in that JSX? So first you need to import it. Okay. So how to import? Just import. Okay. And do .app.css. So here no need to do like this import React component. No need to export it here because for this it is it is okay if this runs, this CSS runs. No need to export anything from CSS. Okay, it is enough for this to run. No need to export anything. So I just import that app.css and whatever I mentioned the CSS there, the employee style, I will add it as a class name here. It should not be class here because this is JSX. It has only class name. So I told you right, there are certain differences. So it just add the class name here. That is the employee style. So let me see whether that style is applied. And now it is applied. You can see that green border. So as per our requirement, we have to move this to a separate. You can see it here. Move this employee. You have to create a single employee functional component. So let me move this as a functional component rather than keeping it here. Okay. So for that, for creating this as a functional component, so as per the design, right, development design, it is always better to break it into small pieces. So let me add it, create it as a separate functional component. So just add employee, and it is better to name it as employee.js. And here, so first you have to understand, you have to add this React that is necessary in all the components. Okay, no need of component because just going to add a functional component, right? So you can name it employee and let me add it. So just I will copy paste whatever we wrote it there here, right? So this has to be written now. And since we are returning multiple lines, it is better to put it inside this braces. Okay. Now we have done this. The next step I need to do is I also need to import the CSS, right, in that file because we are using employee style here. So let me do this. Now I have added. Now I have to use this component in app.js. So what I have to do, I will just delete this because it's already present as a component, right? I can have a div, that's not an issue. Here I first need to export this functional component so that app.js can use it. So let me export it as a default value. Default, you can have multiple things you can export. Here I am exporting this employee component as a default thing. Okay. Here you import this employee. Since it is default export, you can name it in any name. I will name it. I will keep it as employee only. So let me do this. As I told you, JS is optional here, but for CSS it is not optional. Okay, you have to understand. And here, what I will do, I will add that employee. Okay. So I have added the employee as a functional component, and I have returned that here. Let me see now whether it is working. And it is working fine, right? Now coming to our another thing. See, right now these values are all static, right? But if I want to send the value from app.js to the employee, which is the child, from parent, which is app.js to employee, what I need to do? I have to make use of props. Let us see, it is part of my next step. So this one we have completed. So it is part of my next step. Okay. So let's complete the. So let's proceed with the next step. That is the passing data to the employee component you via props. Okay. So you have to, whenever you want to send data from a component to another component, you have to make use of props. Maybe this can be comparable to event binding, property binding, and event binding in Angular. Okay. Yeah. Even property binding is sending the value. Okay. From a parent to the child. And likewise, if I click on any of this, I want to send the data back. That also need to be sent in props. Now we will see how to send these values, right? Employee name, DOB, and personnel from the app.js to employee.js through props. Okay, just understand props is the way you have to send the data from the parent to the child and child to parent, vice versa, which is comparable to property and event binding in Angular. Okay, so let me send the data. Now understand I want to send something. Okay, some data, XYZ. Okay, and the DOB, date of birth, I want to send something. Question held can be something. Okay. Now to receive the data in the employee, you need to add something. This is not mandatory to add a props. Now I need to pass this data, name, all these, to the employee, the child component, which is the function component. To receive the data, I need to add something called props. This need not be props only, can have any custom name. I will have it as props. to get the data here from the props, you need to add it in the value. Okay. And any JavaScript, if I want to write it inside JSX, I will use the flower braces. Okay. Now inside JavaScript, I am writing the code props.name, because this is the name how I send the data here, right? I send the data in name. So let me take it in name. Likewise, for date of birth, I will take it in props.dob. Okay. Likewise, props.ph for position held. So now all this data should be available. Whatever you sent here should be available, because we have sent through props to the child component and retrieved it in props. Okay. So you can see this. So right now when I check, it should all be displaying this value. Okay. Yeah, add that as manager there. Can make it as supervisor. Okay. So let me check it now. So you can see it here. The data, whatever data.
So till now we saw about property binding. From the parent to the child, we passed a value. That is all the three values, the employee name, date of birth, and supervisor. Now if I want to send an event from the child to the parent, maybe for any click happens in the child, I want to send an event to the parent. How can I do that? That is comparable to event binding in Angular. So to do that, let me proceed to the code. So here, if I want to propagate a event to the parent, in case if anyone clicks on the input element, this employee name input element, what I need to do is I have to add on click, because I am interested in adding a on click event. Okay. And for on click over the props, I need to add a function. Okay. Maybe on click handler. Okay. Props dot on click handler I need to add. Now whenever click happens, so this on click is nothing but JHS event. Okay. Whenever on click happens, on click handler will be called over props. So in the app.js, you have to add this on click handler. Okay. You will add something like this. When this event gets propagated from the child, that is the employee component, you need to run a function. So let me put flower braces and write a function here, which will be called whenever on click happens on the employee name. Okay. So I wrote a event, and whenever click happens, right, React will expose a event. Okay, this event will contain all the information about the click event. Okay, whenever the click happens, let me do a console log. Okay, event, maybe I will say click event, and I will print the event, comma event. So now let us see whether that event is getting printed. Whenever we click on the employee name on the employee component. So let me go to that thing. So whenever, let me clear it off. Whenever when anyone clicks on this, you can see the click event, the console is getting printed. And in this event, which is exposed by React, we will get all the information about the click event. Since it is a click event, you will get all the information, like where it got clicked, what is the x-axis, y-axis, and all those information. If it is an on-change event, you will get to know what value was entered by the user. So it is all based on the event. Okay. So this is how event we have to bind from the child to the employee, child to the parent. Hope it is clear. Let's proceed to the next step. So let's proceed with the next step. That is displaying a list of employees using map. Right now we just displayed a single employee functional component. So let us make it to display a list of employees using map. Okay. So right now if you see, let's move on to the project. So if I start the project, you will see a single functional component. So let me make it as a list of employees. Okay. So right here you can see a single functional employee component. So let us make it as a list of employees. Okay. So let me copy the list of employees from here. Already have it. Let me copy that. And let me move to here. Let me copy it here. And let me make it as an instance for this app class component. And let me iterate through this employees. Okay. How I will iterate through this list of employees? Okay. From this array of employee objects, I will take the name, DOB and position held from this rather than hard coding here. So to iterate through this employees array, I will use map. Okay. So whenever you want to do JavaScript inside JSX, you have to use the flower braces. Okay. So just use the flower braces and put this dot employees dot map, and I will receive each employee in this in each iteration. Okay. Okay. And I will, for each iteration, let me create an employee. And I will close the map here. Just for understanding, I will close the map here. Okay. What I did for I'm just using map to iterate the employees, and for each iteration, I'm creating this EMP employee component. Okay. Okay, you are able to understand. This employee component is created for each iteration of this employees, and I also have to return in case of map as well. So now if you see, if you go to the browser, you will see for each iteration I have created that much employee components. So these are all separate employee components. So I have created 6 employee component because I have 6 employees here. Fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for each iteration I have created this employee component. So let me take now the EMP, the name, date of birth and position held from this EMP object. For taking that, just again put flower braces and put emp.name here, because that's how it is here. And here I will put it as emp.date of birth, right? And similarly for position holder, we can do emp.position held. Okay. Now I have passed the value from the employee object to the employee component. And this value will be sent through the props to the employee component. So I've just from the map for each iteration, I'm taken the name and date of birth and position held from the employee object and passed to the employee component, which is already passed through props. So let us see now whether it works now. So if you see now it is all changed to reflect the values present in this employee list. Okay. So now we have done with this step, right? Making a list of employees using map. Now let's proceed with the next step. So introducing introduction to state and implementation state. State I've already introduced to you, right? So let me implement the state here. So rather than having it as an instance value employees, let me introduce state now. Okay, as I told, state is nothing but a external dependency, right? So let me make it as employees here. So right now what I'm doing is I'm moving the instead of an instance value, I'm making it as a state, the employees as a state. So let me also add this there. So this is going to be my initial state. Okay. Later I will try to bring it from the server. Okay. Now this is the state. I've added the employees list of employees in my state, which is my external dependency, which we will later bring it from the server. Okay, and I can delete this because we are going to use the state. Okay. Okay. And now we can take the employees not from the instance value but from the state of employees. Okay. This also should work now to my understanding, but it's not working. Let us see the issue. So we have added in the state employees and we are using the state dot employees, right? The name is correct, I hope. Okay, and I'm iterating through the map, right? So now you can see from the state we are again able to get the employees. So other thing you need to understand in this case is this render method will be called again by the React whenever we change the state, not by giving this dot state dot employees to a new value, but by using set state. Maybe we have a click handler, right? Whenever the employee name is getting clicked, this click handler is called. We can actually change the state here using set state. We should not set state. We can set the employees to be empty. For setting that, we can do like this because I want to set the employees as empty. So once we call the change the state, okay, the Angular will re-render this, call this method again. Okay, whenever the state gets changed, this will get called. So now let us see whether that it is re-render is happening whenever we click on this click button. You can say that this whenever the click happens, the employees we change the state to be an empty list, and this gets re-rendered. So since it is an empty list, nothing has been shown in the screen. Okay, and this should not, you should not do this as like this. You should not change the state just like this. Okay. This dot state dot employees dot You should not change it like this. You should use only set state. If you do like this, the render will never happen. You can see that even if you click, nothing will happen. Only you have to change the state using set state method. Okay. Hope this is clear. We just, as part of this step, we have moved the employees list as into the state of the class component, and using the state of the class component, we are iterating, and we also tried on the click handler of the employee name. Whenever we clicked, we try to change the employee state, and since we change the state, the React was able to re-render and we were able to see a empty list. Okay, hope you understood. Thank you. Let's proceed with the next step. So we are moving to the next step, making the data available. Till now we are having the data hard coded, the employee list hard coded in my component. Now let me take the data from the node server. Using Axios, we will try to get it. If you take a React, it is, as I told you, it is just a library. It does not have its own, like Angular, it is not a framework. It does not have its own HTTP server, HTTP service to get the data. We have to rely on some third-party libraries to get data from the external servers. Okay. Right now, I'm making use of Axios. There are also other third-party available. Right now, we will proceed with Axios to get the data, this employee data from the server. Okay. So the first step will be to install Axios. Okay. So let me try that. So I want to install Axios inside my system. Okay, just do install, and let's wait for it to install. I'm getting some permission issue. Let me try it from the command prompt. Go into this folder. Okay. We run it as administrator. And let me go inside this React. And I will try to install this Axios. Let's wait for it to get installed. So now it has completed installing the Axios to my application. So that you can very well verify if you go inside. The Axios should be added as part of this package.json. You can verify that. You can verify it has been added. And also you should be able to find it if you go inside this and check. If you go inside this, you should be seeing the Axios somewhere. Okay. So here you can find that. So let me, so Axios is now installed my machine. So now I have to get, using Axios, I have to get the employee list rather than having it as this hard coded in my component. Okay, let me remove this hard coding, and I will make this initial state to be empty, and from where I will get my employee list. I already have a dummy node server, so that is present as part of my GitHub. Can go to this GitHub. You can go to, I will also add it in my description. You just go to repositories and you just click on this and clone this. You should be getting a dummy node server. You clone that, and right now I will go inside that clone path and start the server, which will be the server which gives my employee list.
Okay, it is, I have cloned it inside node server. Okay. Now it is a simple server which can actually go inside the server if you want. So it is a simple server which so which has many get methods, delete methods, and add methods. If you want to add employees or delete employees, you can make use of this node server as the backend. Okay. So to start the server, just do node server.js. Okay. So, so it means it has been already started and it is running for me. So it has been already started. Okay. So it is running in localhost 8081. And to get the employees, you just do get employees. When you do this, you will be able to get the employees. So I have to make use of this URL, and using Axios, I will get the data from it. Okay. So let me go to my system, and component did mount is one of the lifecycle hooks which gets called at when the component is mounted. This lifecycle hook is called by React. Okay. You just have to first do Axios Nigiv. It will automatically add the import, and you put Axios.get. We are want to do a get, and you add the URL. Okay, localhost 8081 get employees, and it Axios actually gives you a promise. So to get the data, what you have to do, you have to do then. Okay, then you get the data here. The response. You try to print the response how it comes. Okay, I'll just print it out for you first before using it in my application. Just print the response and see what is the response it is retrieving. This is this one, and this should be this one. That's it. So let's see whether the Axios is able to go to the server and get the response for us. As you know, the promise, the first callback will always be the response. Just I have not handled the error for the promise yet. Okay. Just then you have to also start the server. Then server is also not started. Let me go to my React and start the server. Let us wait for it to start. Now it is started. It is not able to display anything because we have a empty employees, right? That's why we have not seen anything. But you are able to see the response here, right? So this is the response which is being sent from the server. But you can see the list of employees is present in data. So response.data will be able to give you this data. So let me change it to response.data. When you do response.data, you should be able to get the data, right? You are able to see the data. So this has to be set to employees, right? For setting this to employees, you have to, as I told you earlier, for setting state, you should not never do like this. If you do like this, right, it means the React will not know the state has changed. For changing the state, you have to always use set state. Only when you use this method and change the state, the React will call the render method again. Okay. So let me put this to be response.data. So once I receive the data from the node server, what I'm doing, I'm setting the state. I'm changing the state. Now once the state gets changed, the employee state gets changed, the React will be calling this method again. So it will actually iterate through the employees and will be showing the list of employees for us, as we saw it in the case when we had the employees hard-coded in our application. So let's see now. Now you can see, now we are able to see the list of employees. So the whatever is being sent from the node server, we are able to see it in our uh, view page in our browser. Okay. So let's move on to the next step. Right now I want to edit the name and position held of the employee. Right now let's move on to our application. You can see that you are not able to edit the username or a password, right? This is happening because I have set that click handler to delete the employees whenever I press on click. Let me comment it. So now you can see I'm not able to edit the position held or name. This is happening because whenever you are editing, though the editing happens, it is not reflected in the state. Whatever the view, this app.js component is showing is the employee state. Okay. To to see the whatever the user types, you have to edit the state. You have to give the state from that employee component to the app component through event on change. You have to implement on change in the child component, that is the employee component, and you have to make the change the state in the app.js so that you will be able to see the change whatever the user types in name and position held. So let me do it how we can uh, make the user employee name and position held editable. Okay, for that the first step will be to as I told you, you have to add a on change. I will convert it into, there is a change event handler. Okay, and then you do on change event handler, and here, and you have to tell the function which you want it to get called whenever on change happens on the name. Okay, I will write something on name change handler. Okay, I am writing this so that whenever the change happens, I am intimating the class component, the parent, that is the app component, that some changes happen, and I will also be passing the value which is changed by the user. Using this, the app.js will change the state, that particular employee where the user edits the name. Okay, so let me go here, and instead of on click handler, I will write whatever the name you mentioned here, right? Yeah, I mentioned on name change handler, right? I will write the name. Okay, and I will delete all this so that you are more clear what we are doing. Okay, for this you have to write the event to update the state. Okay, with the changed value of the user. So let me write a function. Since I'm going to write JavaScript, I'm putting it in flower braces, and I will write something here. And I want the changed value, right, from the user, right? For that, I will make use of the event. Passed from this event is being exposed by React. So I will make use of that event to change the value. So on change event.target.value will give you the changed value. Okay. So as a first step, I can also console log and show the event to you. Okay. The changed value is present in this event. So whenever I change anything, right, you can see that it should be printed in your console. You see some event is getting called. In this, if you go for target.value, you should be able to see the value. Many even print it should give the value. Just see. So you are able to see event.target.value is giving you the value, right? So you have to modify it using this event.target.value. You have to modify the state, that particular employee state. Okay. So what I will do is, and I also need the index because we have a list of employees. Then I will also use the index that also will be passed here. Okay. Sorry. So change it here. The map will be able to give you the index. Okay. You pass this target value and the index to something here, a function here. Change name. I will name the function as change name, and you give the value here. The event dot and the change value of the user. Okay. The user type that will be available in event.target.value and the index because you have a list of employees, right? Okay. So this change name has to be written here. Okay. And this takes in two values, right? It takes in the value, the change value, and the next is the index, which is a number. So using these two, we can change the state, right? This dot employees we can actually, the best practice will be you take a copy of this state.employees. Okay. To take the copy of the employees, you can use the destructuring operator. Okay. And we can assign it to some employees, constant employees. Okay, I've just made a copy from the whatever is present in that state.employees, and in this you change the value employees index, that particular index, and dot name because we are changing the name to the value what was entered by the user. Okay. And with this employee you set state now. Set state employees and the new employee what you created now, right? So using this array destructuring, I've just created a copy of the employees, new employee object, actually array object. In that array, I'm going to that particular index, changing the value and setting state. Now if you see whether you are able to edit the value or not. It is saying employees cannot set property name of undefined. It is saying maybe what issue I made. Not sure what is happening here. Hmm. Sorry about this. I've done a small issue here. Okay. The index should come from this map, not from this. Okay. That's why I think the issue has happened. Let me check now. It should work now. Okay. So now you can see we are able to change the value. So based on the index, we are changing the state now. Okay. Hope this is clear. The same way you can change it for the position held also. Here also you can add it. On change, you can add on change event for position held and have it as position change handler. On position, you just copy the name, you add it here as well. You write this method also here. Oh, just need to copy this method for position held also. Okay. So let me have this method. Sorry. And you just copy the name here. So here also it can be changed, but you can write a function called change position. Okay. And here write a file called change position. Change position. Okay. And here it is position held. Now if you do this, you should be able to change the position and name. Maybe you should be able to edit the position held. Okay. So now we are able to do this step, that is we are able to edit both the employee name and position held. Okay. Let's proceed with the next step. Now let's move on to the next. Now let's proceed to the next step. That is the enabling the user to delete the employee. Okay. So this is going to be our next step. So this is our application. You can see this. So what I need to add in this as part of this is I want to add a delete button in this employee component, and on pressing this delete button, the employees list should delete that employee component. Okay, this is very simple requirement. So what I need to do is the employee component, I need to add a button called delete. Add a button delete. On pressing the on click of that delete button, I need to pass the index to the parent, and the app.js has to delete the employee component from the employee list and update the state so that you are able to see that. Okay, let me proceed with the step. So first I need to add a button here, right? Let me add a button here. Button type text. Text, and you add a on click handler, right? And for this you call something props.delete handler something. This method has to be written there. Okay, and close it, and inside the button you add something called delete. In the delete handler, now I should be able to see the delete button. If you go to that page, I'm not seeing. Maybe we are seeing that, right? Delete button. Now let's proceed with adding the delete handler in app.js. So like these methods, I need to add the delete handler. So I will add this delete handler method. So let me take the click handler event, but I do not need the event anyway. Okay, because I just need the index from the map for deleting. So let me add the delete method here, delete, and I will just pass the index. That's enough for me. And I will write a delete method here and with the index. And as we did earlier, we can create a copy of the employees, and in that employees, this particular index, I will splice it. Employees dot splice, and whatever the index delete has happened, I will remove it. And I will set the state as we did earlier. Now let us check whether a delete is happening. Okay, let's go to the method, and you can see delete is happening. And this can also be extended so that you can make the delete happen also in the server. For that, making use of Axios, you have to call a delete call. Okay, you have to make like we did it for Axios.get. You can do Axios.delete and pass the index so that server will be able to delete. That also, this can be extended to do that also. Okay. So now let's proceed with the next step. So let us proceed with the next step, adding the login component. So this is my web page. Okay, for adding the login component, what we need to do? Okay, let me add another page. Okay, I have to create a login functional component. So for that, let me add a page called login.js. Inside this, let me add the functional component, the login functional component. So write a function, and it has to return the JSH for the login component. So it has to return something like div. Okay, right? Inside the div, it has to return the username and password, right? And submit button. So let it have a label, username, and I will add an input. Put type text, and the value equal to and this can be value. This value will be sent from the parent component, right? So let me take that value in props. Okay. So this value for this should be sent in the props from the app parent component. And if the value changes also, this also has to be sent back. So let me add a onChange handler. Okay. And for this props dot username handler. So similarly, we'll add it for password as well. So let me add also a button for submit. And if anyone clicks on the submit, what I need to do, maybe that we can handle it later. Maybe we have to add an on-click handler, and based on we have to change the state so that we change him. We change to the home page rather than the login page. On submit, if he enters the proper username and password, we have to uh, move to the home page rather than the login page. Based on the state, we will do that. Maybe that can be handled as the next step. Right now, we are just adding the login page. I also need to receive the username and password in props. So let me have it here. And the other thing I need to do is I have to do this because the JSX has to get converted to JavaScript. So that for that we need this, and we have to export the login as well. Okay. And this login has to be imported here. And right now we are displaying which page? We are actually displaying the employees page. Maybe I think the server is not started. Let me start the server also. So we are getting some issues. We are getting this issue. Cannot find the model login. Okay. So just coming here. Okay, it should be dot slash log. Okay. One second. So here it is, I think so it is, it's small L, not a big one. Okay. Now let's see whether we are getting error here. But we do it. Folder. I think it is asking for authorization in the node server. Let me remove that for time being. Okay. Comment it and run it back. Because for each request it is asking for authentication voice, and so it is failing. So I have removed the authentication right now. So now I should be able to get the data. So we are seeing the home page, right? Now I want it to show the login page, right? For that, what I need to do is I will this JSH, right? I will assign it to a constant, maybe emp JSH, and I will return the login instead of this. Now it should show the login page, and it is showing the login page, right? We can add some styles here so that it shows aligned, is more aligned. Okay. We'll add a div here so that it comes to the next line. This is the name, and we can add a style for this, some CSS for this. Let me add some CSS, maybe login style. Okay, we can add a login.css for this. Dot login style. Add some border, maybe 1 pixel, solid, green, and padding of 10 pixels. Just add this, and you import the CSS here so that we are able to see that style in our login page. Okay. So now we are able to see the style, right? So with this, let's move on to the next step. Okay. Another thing I missed here is it has to be class name. Okay. This is JSH, not the simple HTML. So do this, you get this class name. This is to be class name of JSX, not simple HTML class. Okay. Hope you understood. Let's move on to the next.
So let's move on to the next step. We will try to add a login based on the login state. Right now, how is it our application is? Like we have just added a login page. That's it. Our what we completed in the previous step. We have added the login page. Now when the user enters ABC and pass as username and password, I want to once he logs in, I want to change the state so that he is able to see the home page rather than the login page. Now we want to have the login page and home page together. Okay. So let's add login in state for that. Okay, this is our application what we had previously. So what we have to make is when the user enters username and password and presses on submit, we want to change the logged in state as we will add a username state. Okay, let it be empty by first, and we will add a password state.
and we will also add a logged in state. Okay, and by default let it be false. So if the logged in and true, if the logged in state is true, I will show the emp.js, the home page, rather than the login page. If it is logged in false, I will show the login page. So this is what I want to do. For that, let me add the username password. Right now it is not part of state. We have added a handler for that. Let me bring it inside state, the app.js state. Okay. For that, what I need to do is the login page, right? We have a login page here. Let's bring the username password inside state. Okay. So username, whatever the login page has, right? Username, username and password, right? So let me send that username password from the app.js. Username will be whatever it is present in state. Okay. This dot state dot username. The password will be this dot state dot password. And now I have sent the username and password to the login.js. Now whenever the login.js in the login.js they change the username and password, right? I need to handle that. Whenever the user types username and password, whatever the user types, I want to make the change in the state as well. Whatever state is maintained in app.js. For that I will add a handler. So let me copy this username handler, right? Let me copy it to app.js. I will write a function here. Okay. User name. Okay. Username, whatever the user enters. This is actually event, not the username. The username will come in event.target.value because we have added a onChange handler, right? So let me change the inset state. I will change the username here. Hope this is how I have set the username here. Now it is small, right? So username will be this dot state dot username. Sorry, event dot target dot value, because we have handled it in onChange, right? Target dot value. This can be also added in for password as well. Now right now we have added for username. We will try to handle it for password as well. Okay. So just to have a proper, I will sorry. We'll add a now. Just copy the same for password as well. So here, let this be password handler. So now this should be password, because I want to change the state of the password for every change in the username, change in the password by the user. Okay. So this I have handled. Now I also need to handle for the submit button, right? Whenever the user clicks on submit button, I have to check whether the username and password is what I expected. if it is what I expected, I will allow him to access the home page, that is employee.js page. Okay, so let me add a click on click. So this should be props dot submit handler. So for the submit handler, I will add a event handling for that. So this should check whether the username password is what I expected. If it is what I expected, I will just change the logged in state as true. And based on the login state, I will change back to home page. Okay. So I don't want any event. I'm not going to retrieve anything from the click handler. So, but just we will keep the event handler, but I'm not going to use anything. So let me test it. I will write a if. I will change check the this dot state dot username. I will just for to your better understanding, I will keep it as I'm not going to take it from the database from the server. I will have it hard coded here. If it is ABC and pass, okay, I will allow him to. I will make the logged in status true so that he will be able to access the home page. Okay. Now, if it is going to be same, I will change. Okay, this dot um, this dot set state. Sorry, set state. State she logged in to true. Else we have to show error, right? So for that also we will have a state. Maybe we'll add a state called error state here. And I will make this error state seen in the login page. Let the error state be empty at first. Now if there is an error, I will set the error. This dot set state logged in set state one. You can set it to error, and user can say like username or password is incorrect. Okay. This also need to be sent to the login page through props. So let me add a error also here equal to this dot state dot error. Okay. This can be taken from the login.js. So let me add a label. And here I will put props dot error. Okay. And I have changed the login state. I also need to do the changes. If the logged in is true, I need to show the home page. If logged in false, I need to show the login page. For that, let me put this login page inside a login JSX. Okay. If the login state is true, I'm writing a method. This dot state dot logged in is true. You return employee JSX, right? Else, if it is false, you return login page, login JSX, right? You understand? So now right now we have done. So if it is login state is true, it will return this JSX. If login state is false, it will return this JSX. So let's now check whether it works. I think it is giving error. Maybe we have. So it is showing the page. Let me do a first invalid login other than ABC pass. So we are getting a error, right? Username or password is incorrect. Now let us say a proper correct username and password ABC pass. What we have hard coded. Submit. Still saying the same. It is saying some. I will start the server for getting the employee list. Okay. Now I've started the server. Let me do it again. And now let me give the proper user what I've hard coded. There is some issue. This dot login state is not getting created. I think. We'll see what issue we have made. Just check whether this submit handler is correct, name is correct. So on click, I'm calling props dot submit handler, right? So that's right. So it should go inside this. It is not showing any error. Whether the login state is correct everywhere, you can see that. Logged in. See, I have made a mistake here. It is logged in, right? Maybe I made a mistake there. This is logged in, but there it was wrong, right? So the name of the state I made a mistake. So if this is this dot state logged in, this will return. Now let us check whether it works for us. Okay, let me give the proper username ABC pass. So now it works. You are able to see, right? It is showing the employee homepage, which shows the list of employees, right? Now let us move to the next step, that is adding a logout button, okay, to our application. So this should be the last for us for in our React project, last step. So let me add that. Let me go to my project. So to add a logout button, I just need to add a logout button here, right? So let me add a button, right? Button, which will let it show logout. So let me add a on click. Whenever anyone clicks on this, I have to change the state as logged in false, right? Just do that. Whenever the click happens, I have to set state. This dot set state. logged in as false. This dot set state, whenever the logout button is clicked, I'm just setting the state logged in as false, so that our React will re-render and it will show the login page again. So let's check whether it is working now. Let me move to our browser. Let me first log in. So now I have got a logout button. Just click on the logout button. So let's click on the logout button, and now when on pressing the logout, the state logged in is set as false. So the React re-renders and it shows the login button, login page again based on our logic written here. Since this is made, logged in is made as false, it starts returning a login page now.
So lifecycle methods are actually called when for a class component in React, we have maybe around 6 lifecycle methods. That is, these lifecycle methods are called at different life cycle of the component, class component. Maybe when it is mounted, when the class component is mounted, component will mount will get called. When it is mounted, this component will mount will call. Before getting mounted, this will get called. Did mount will get called after getting mounted. Okay, and component will receive props will get called whenever the properties when it receives any new properties. Okay, this will get called with the new property. Okay, it also receives the new property as a parameter. And whenever state changes, this does not get called. You have to understand that this will not get called when any state changes. Okay, should component update, actually you have to return a boolean from this method, and in this method it will receive the new properties and new state. Here you can, based on the new state and new properties received, you can decide whether the update should happen or not. So if you return false, the update will not happen. If you return true only, the update will happen. Component did update will get called after the component gets updated. Okay, will unmount will call when after the component is destroyed. So this diagram also will make you understand better. Okay, we'll also see. So when the mounting happens, right, this component will mount will get called after the mounting happens. Component did mount will happen. That is, before mounting component will mount, after mounting component did mount will get called. Whenever the properties changes, receive props will be called with the new properties. And here you can decide whether you want to update or not based on this lifecycle hook. If you say true, then only the component will get updated. Component did update will get called. If you say false, it will not go here. Okay, it will stop with this lifecycle. For any state changes, right, you will have only should component update. Component will receive props will not get called. You have only should component update. Here you can decide whether the component should update or not. If you decide where to component should to update, component will update will get called. After that, component did update will get called. Okay, after unmounting, component will unmount will get called. Okay, so let's see it one by one. Okay, so the first one is, as I told you, this will get called before mounting. Okay, here you can do any application configuration. Okay, this lifecycle hook is apt for in doing any app configuration. Okay, and did mount will get called after the component is mounted. Okay, so this can be used for starting any Ajax calls to load your data. Okay, here you can also change the state as well. Okay, this can be used also for changing the state using set state. Okay, so any calls you do to the server should be in this method. Okay, component will receive props is will be called, as I told you, for every new property change. Okay, new properties are argument you will receive, and here also you can change the state if you want. If you want to do any particular change for a particular property change, you can do it in this method. Should component update, as I told you, it should return a boolean, right? Based on the, it will receive the new properties and the state. Based on that, you can decide whether the component should update for this properties and state. Okay. And the component did update should get called. Should component did update should get called, will get called after the component updates. Okay. Here you will give receive the previous properties and previous state. Okay. So here also it will receive the snapshot, which can be used for updating the DOM in response to the property or state changes. The snapshot is nothing but the DOM, the changed DOM. So you can for the state changes or property changes, this hook is apt for updating the DOM. Okay. So this hook can also be used for changing the state. Okay. So as I told you, build unmount will get called for when the component gets destroyed. Here you can do any cleanup task. Now try to understand this lifecycle hook with the example. So I already have an application running. So to explain you that lifecycle methods, actually I have put everything. Okay. So this component will mount is clear, right? It will be the first one will be called. I have two class components in which we can insert these lifecycle hooks. You can't put it in a functional component. Okay, I have two things. The app.js, which is getting called from index.js. This index.js, the first file, the initial thing will render this app.js. The app.js is a class component which in which I have put all the lifecycle methods. And inside the app.js, I also have another class method called app2. Okay, you see here you will have another lifecycle method called app2, and I also have another functional component called employee. Okay, from this app I'm actually passing the whatever the state, right? This has a state called employee with all these values, name, date of birth, and position held. This has been passed to the employee component. Okay, the employee functional component just shows the employee main which is being passed. Based on the data which is passed from this state, it is showing the employee, and the employee can also change the value because I have handled the on change. Okay, whenever it changes, the employee component changes, the on change will get called here by means of props. The value will be passed to here, and it will call the particular function on name change handler and on position change handler, which will change the state. So what will happen is it will change the state. So it will you will see the change actually in that employee. So once somebody enters something name there, the name gets passed to this app.js. Okay, and we are changing the name and we are setting state, this dot set state employee with the new name we are setting, so that it will change the state. Okay, just understand this. With this example I will try to explain you the lifecycle methods we saw now. So the component will mount, this one will be called whenever we render the component. You will see this here, this will be the first one to be called. Component will mounted. Okay, before the mounting this will be called, and after that we have component did mount after the component gets mounted. So that also you can see it here, right? In this lifecycle hook you can write all the Axios calls for getting the data from the server and like so. You can use this for doing any Axios call and appending changing the state. Okay, and then you have method called component will receive props. As I told you, this will whenever the props changes, you will receive the new properties in this. To explain this, I have another component called app2. Okay, and in that also I have put component will receive props, and this component actually receives the to this app2 component. Actually, I am sending the employee name alone. So whenever the employee name changes, okay, whenever we are changing the employee name, you will see the component will receive props will get called in the app2. Okay, whenever the name is getting changed in the app.js, this will receive the new props. Okay, and based on this props, it will also see the new name. Okay, let's check it. Okay, so whenever I change the name here, you will see that maybe I will filter for component will receive props. So you can see whenever I change the name in the app.js, the component will receive props will be called in the app2, and based on the value here, it shows the value in the label. That's what I have that's what the logic I have written to show the new name. Whatever name is received in the props, I'm just showing the name here, this app2 component. So you can see it here. So whenever I change the name, it is getting changed. This component will receive props is getting called. Okay, this is about component will receive props. Okay, so this method will be called whenever the proper new it receives a component receives a new property. And should component update, as I told you here, you can decide whether the component should update or not. So it will receive the next props and next state. So for state changes, this will never get called. Only for property changes, this method will get called. For state changes, this is the method which is getting called. The state will change in my application whenever the component changes something. Okay, maybe it may be a name or position handle, because only for name and position handle I have written the logic on change handler and on position change handler. I have written the logic to change the state. So this change name, as I showed you, will change the create a new employee. Okay, and set the value received from the employee.js and set the state. So we should see the method called whenever the employee changes the name and position held. Okay, so let me filter with this method. So let me see. Now I will filter with this method. So whenever this position held is changed, you should see a method call. Maybe if you just do it, you see should component update is called with the this is property is received from the index.js. Okay, so you can see it here. The whatever I am typing here, maybe it is confusing. I will just clear it off and put 11141, and you will see that should component update is called for all the ones, right? For the new state. Okay, this will also happen for this position held, because for this only I am changing the state, right? So if I put supervisor here also, you should be seeing it. So you are seeing supervisor, because that is the new state. For every new state, this new state or new property, this method will be called. Here we are able to see the new state, right? The component updates with the new state. That's why you are saying supervisor. If I return false here, right, what will happen is you can't see the new state. Let me explain you. So let me change it here. I will try to print 111. See, it is no, you are not able to see the data here. But here if you see, you will be able to see the data, whatever I tried to print. 1, but it is not able to see in the view, right? Because the component did not update with the new state. That's why you are not able to see it in the view, because we have written false here. So this is how you can stop the update from happening for any particular state or a property. Okay, this is about should component update. Should component did update will be called every time the component updates. If you return false here, this will never get called. So I will change it to true. So this will receive the previous properties and previous state and the DOM also. Okay, so let me see. I'll filter with this. Okay, let me do this changes. So you can see, right? Whenever I type should component did update is called because the component is updating, and this will show the old value, old state and old property. If you type here, it will show the old state. It is right now the old state, previous state. Okay, once it got updated, it becomes the old state. Okay, so you can see, but this lifecycle hook will be called when the component updated, after it gets updated. Okay, this is about component did update. Component will unmount will get called when the component is unmounted. Okay, so to show this, I will write a code so that the app2 gets removed. Okay, based on some value. Okay, this dot state dot employee dot name equal to a b c d. If it is abc, only show this app2, else remove it. I'm saying that. Okay, only when the state employee name is abc, I want to show this component, else remove it. I'm just written a logic to say that only when the employee name is abc, show that. So initially it will be shown because the initial state is abc. Let's see now. Now it is abc and we are able to see the app2 component. If I change this, I have changed the employee name, so the app2 gets destroyed, and you should be seeing a component unmount getting called. We will refresh. Okay, when I say this, whether the I will also put this unmount. I will copy it over in app2 so that we are able to see this. So I will put that. Now we will try to remove it and see whether this unmount is getting called. Now let me clear it off and make it this. So you are now able to see component unmounted for app2. Since app2 is destroyed, we are getting this component unmount lifecycle hook being called. So this is about lifecycle methods in case of React. In this session, we will be seeing about Redux. Okay, why the synopsis? What we are going to see is this: is how we are going to see. We are going to see introduction to Redux, and we will be implementing Redux store in our React application, and then we will be having an introduction to React Redux and implementing the React Redux in our project, and then after implementing we will have a middleware introduction and example using middleware, and at last we will see Redux Thunk and example. Okay, Redux, if you take, right, before coming to this, the Redux React, if you take, the state is maintained in each class components. We see any React application, you will see the state is maintained in each class. We have a state, right? But when we have many components and each component maintaining their own state, it will be difficult, right? So in Redux, the concept is rather than the class maintaining the state, we will externalize the state to something outside. Okay, and that store will be the Redux store will be maintaining the state, and whenever whatever state we want, we will just subscribe from a class component. We will just subscribe and take that state from that store, and if we want to change the state, we will pass action. We will say I want to change the state, this particular state as this. Maybe I want to set user, I want to log in. So that time I will be sending an action, and the store will, using a reducer, it will have the logic, it will change the state. And the change state, if any of the components who have subscribed to for the change state, that particular component will automatically reload. As you know that, yeah, when you have a class component, right, whenever the state changes, the component will reload. So whenever any component has subscribed to the state and that state changes, it will automatically reload actually. So the actually what Redux follows is, it follows kind of Flex architecture, not MVC. Flex, which is mostly followed in Facebook. So it is unidirectional. Okay, whenever, so the store here will be maintaining the state. Okay, and the view, which is the component, will be subscribing to the store. Whatever state it needs, it will subscribe to the store. And if the view needs to change the any state, it will send the action to the dispatcher, and dispatcher will send the action, will be nothing but the object, and the dispatcher will be a action creator which will be sent to the store, which will change the state. Okay, so the Redux follows the Flux artifact. It is inspired and follows the Flux. Flux, if you take, it is just a pattern. The Redux is a framework which follows Flux. Okay, to understand this one better, you can also see this diagram. So in Redux, right, we have sorry, in Redux, if you take, we have a store. Okay, store has a reducer. The reducer basically will have the logic to change the state in the store. The reducer and the store, the reducer and the state, the recent state is the store. The reducer, we will write all the logic to produce the state. Okay, and the actions are which are called by the view, the class component, for changing the state in the store. Maybe I will take a simple use case. If I want to produce a state called Karthik with all separated, okay, what I will send a action is, I will send a payload Karthik and with action split, and the reducer will have the logic for splitting this Karthik value. So it, based on the type split logic which is written in the reducer, it will produce the state Karthik with all separated. So this will be the recent state. What it was an empty state before, now it got a state like this because I passed a action asking it to split the value some string. I've asked through the action, I've asked the reducer to split, right? So the reducer will produce a recent state called Karthik, which with splitted string, splitted characters. If I want to do this via Redux, let me show you an example how we can do it. Okay, I will just go here. So first we have to create store, right? Maybe I will zoom in. So let us create a store now. Redux dot create store. So what should be the value here is the Redux logic. I told you, right, the reducer and the state is nothing but the store. So here you have to write a reducer which has the logic for producing the state. Maybe constant reducer. I will make it as a function. Maybe we can have it as a simple function. One will be initial value, which I can keep it as empty, and the next one will be the actions. And this is the reducer I told you, right? I can write. So here I will write actions dot type. So if it is going to be split, I am going to split that string, whatever I receive. The string I will receive in actions dot payload, right? Actions dot payload dot string split. Okay. If this is the action, I will return the state, else I will return the initial state, which is the empty state. Maybe we can name it initial state. And we can return this initial state. And the create store will be taking this reducer as an input. And we can have a store. This will return a store. Okay. And we can try to fetch the current state from this store. Let me zoom out to see the value. So we are getting issue. Actually, this is capital R. Sorry for that. So right now the state is this one because we have not passed any actions. So we are getting an empty state. Okay, this is what our initial state. So to make the state as splitted characters, we have to pass the payload and the action, right? So we can pass it using dispatch function. So we have something called store.dispatch. How we send the action to the Redux store. We have to pass the action. What I have to pass? I have to pass type to tell what is the logic the reducer has to do. Okay, I want the reducer to do this split logic, and it has to do for the payload. Maybe what we saw in that example, Karthik. Maybe. So now I have sent the action to the Redux store, and for getting the recent state, let me call the store.getState again. Okay, now you can see the recent state. Okay, this is how we have to so we are now you are able to see, right? So which was this state, now it has changed to this state. because of the action I have passed to the reducer Redux store. Okay. We can do the same in our project. Okay, we will try to implement the same in our project now, the Redux store. Now we are coming to the next step, that is implementing Redux. Okay, in our React application. The React application which I am going to show you is what if you have followed my React tutorial, it is the application what we developed out of that React tutorial. I will also add the npm for that React tutorial in my video, so that you can use that and develop add the Redux store in that. So this is the application I have. I will also show you the application. Okay. So this is my application we developed in our React tutorial. So here if you see all our the states are being maintained in the class level. Okay, now we will try to expose it to the React store, Redux store, sorry. So to make it work with Redux, what is the initial step we have to do? We have to first install Redux, right? So let me first, we have to do this step, that is we have to install Redux. This is the first step. I've already installed, so I'm not installing. So we have to install Redux. Once you install, you will be getting the Redux package installed in your system. Once you receive that, once you install that, then you can go to your index.js page and you use that create store for creating the application, create store for creating a Redux store. Okay, and what should be inside this? As we saw in our previous previous video, we have to add a reducer here. So the next step will be to add a reducer. So we can go ahead and create a folder called reducer. Okay, and we can have also a file called index.js, where I will add the logic, the reducer logic, to produce the state, because as I told you, reducer is the main brain which based on the action will produce the reason state, the reason state of the store. Okay, so we can if you we can actually copy whatever we created previously and copy it here. Okay, this is how it should be. The initial state, maybe in our application I will start with changing the username first. Okay, so I will try to bring in the username alone first. So let me first start with the username. Later we will add all the states, which is a empty username. Okay, and this will be my initial state. I've already said that. And if the action dot type equal to maybe set user, I will ask it to change the state. Okay, what we can do, it is a best practice to create a copy of the state rather than change the state. We can, to create a copy, we can make use of this for creating a copy. Okay, and here I will modify the username to whatever is been set in the action.payload. And I will return the state now. So this I have done just for taking a copy of the state, and then I am changing the user in that, if it is going to be set user. Else I will return the, if I don't have any actions matching my thing, I will have a return the initial state, which is the username with the empty thing. Okay, so this path I have to give it to app.js, index.js, which is here. So I can put the, I hope I have exported this. So you are supposed to export this reducer. Okay, you can have it like this itself, and you can add a statement at last. Export default reducer. Okay. Now I will import it here. I will just, maybe we'll see whether it is coming automatically. So it got auto imported, you can see that. So this will return me the store, right? So this is where I have created the store. Now I have created the store, and I have to call the action to the store. For that, the first step will be to add this store to our React application. The React is different, Redux is different. These are two different entities. Okay, for both to communicate, we need something called React Redux. We will see it in the, we will see an introduction about React Redux, and then we will try to implement that. That will be better. So for just bridging these two entities, the React and Redux, we have one other package called React Redux, which we need to install. Okay, before trying to bring in that React Redux into our application, let's have an introduction. Okay. So our next topic is introduction to React Redux. As I told you previously, so the React is a different entity, Redux is a different entity. For joining, bridging both, we need a separate, because they both speak different languages, and for joining, bridging them to bridging both, we need a package called React Redux. Okay, don't have a conception that Redux was only is meant only for React. No, yeah, Redux can be used even with Angular. So for bridging these two, we need a React Redux. Let me go to this diagram, which will make you clear. See, this is how we have to bring React Redux into our system. This app component is a React component. For this React component to speak with the Redux store, we need the connect and provider from React Redux. Okay, so we have to make the store inside the provider of the React Redux. This is the setup, how you have to make it so that the React application can talk with the Redux store. Okay, you have to put the store inside the provider of React Redux, and the provider will talk to the React component through the connect. Okay, just understand, your React component has to be exporting this connect, through which we will be calling any action or getting subscription, and this connect will talk to the provider, within which the store will be available. Okay, just understand, the store is available within the provider of React Redux, and the connect will actually wrap your component, and the connect will be talking with the provider. Okay, now let's implement the same in our application. Okay, now we are also moving to the next topic, implementing React Redux in our application. So this is the application. Okay, we created the store, right, in previous application. Now let's import the provider. For putting the, we told you, right, as per the diagram, we have to put the store inside the provider, right? This provider is from React Redux. Maybe hope this was exported. It is not exported. you have to import it. Okay, I think it is not imported. Maybe we can import it ourselves. Provider from React Redux. So for this, you also need to install this package. Okay, maybe I missed that step. You have to do npm install React Redux. Okay, before doing this step, because the provider, you need the provider for making the React to speak with the Redux store. Okay, make sure this is done. For me, it is already installed, so I'm not doing anything. You have to do this step as well. So now I have imported the provider, and you need to put the store inside the provider. So you can have it something like this and put the store inside that. Just put the store. Okay, now this app also should be inside the provider. Okay, and I also told you the connect should be talking with the provider. Now if you see, this app is nothing but the component, React component. This can't talk with directly with provider, so you need the connect. So I will put this app inside the connect. Okay, and I will expose that. Now if you see, maybe the connect also can be taken. Maybe I will import that connect as well. Import connect from React Redux. Okay. And you need to do this. You have to connect, and how it works is you have to put it like this. Okay, the first parameter in this, the first parameter will be the state you want from the store. The second parameter is the actions you want from the, you want to call to the store. Okay, okay, so this is our setup what we have done. Okay, so this is what we have done as per this diagram what we saw. We have put the app component inside the connect, and we have put the store inside the provider, and we have made connect to talk with the provider, right? Because this app is nothing but the connect now, and this connect will be able to talk with the provider. And other thing, let's start with changing the username alone at first. Okay, right now the user is maintained in this component, right? I will make this user not available in the state, the local state. I will make it available in the store now. So for changing the state in this reducer, what do you need to do? You have to create an action for that, and that action you have to make it to call from the app.js whenever the user changes the username in the login.js, right? Whenever the user changes the username in login.js, I need to make that available in the store, right? This is the login.js. I would have a component. Whenever any user changes the username, okay, I want to, this username will actually be passed to app.js, and in the app.js, whenever this username gets changed by the user, I need to call the action to the Redux store basically, right? So for that calling the action, I will add a actions folder now. Okay. Maybe I will call something called actions here, and here also I can write something called index.js. Okay. Here I am supposed to write action as what we saw in this here, like this, right? So so let's start writing the action. Our action is set user, right? So let me write action here. So actions are nothing but objects, but actually what we are writing here is action creators. Okay. So we have to write something return type. Okay. It is set user because that's what we mentioned in the reducer, right? And the payload will be what is the new username, what the user has written, right? So you can have this username as an input, which is a string, and you can mention this here. Okay. So I have now written it. So you can export this actually, so that you can call this from the component. Okay. Now I have this action, and I also have a state in the reducer for the username, right? I have a state. Now these two should be available to my app.js to call it, right? So for that, how to make it available? We have to make it available through connect. So let me write something called constant map state to props. This function I'm writing to bring the needed state from the store to this component. Here I'm writing a function which has to return the state. Here I have to write what all I need to make it available from the store. I want this username available, right? So you can just copy this name, username, and I can make this available here in this index. Maybe I will go to this app.js, and I want this username, and I want this username to be available in username only. So I will make it like this. Whatever you mention here will be how it will be available in the component. Okay. Now how then we have to put this map state to props here. Okay. And how this will be, now we have told it to connect that I want this state available in the component. How to take the state? Whatever state you return in here, right, it will be available in props in the class component. Okay. Whatever, since we have added this map state to props to the connect, that state will be available in props in this component, and we can just take it as this props dot username. So you can see where all I have taken it from state, you can take it from props now. Props dot, it is username, right? That's how it is available. That's how I have returned it here, right? And where all and this also needs to be changed, right? It should be not this dot set state. You have to call the action now. So now the first step will be to make that set user whatever I've written to be available to this component. For that we can just write set user here and see whether it is getting auto imported. So it is not getting auto imported, I guess. You can import it yourself import set user from actually actions, right? Actions file. That's enough, right? So the set user is now available, and I also told to connect that you make also this available, this action available to the component. So this also will be available in the props. So for setting the username, I can just do this dot props dot set user, and I will pass the username. I will just pass the username, that's enough, right? So this handle username will be called by the login, the class component login, by which it will send this value by, if you go to the login component, right? You don't understand this. So whenever the user changes the username, on change, this handle username will be called in the app.js, okay, and the app.js will be receiving the changed event, that is on change event. From that we can take the value. Now let's start the application and see whether we are able to. Now we have implemented everything for changing the username in the Redux store. Let me start the application and wait for it to start. So we got an issue that we put a semicolon, I think. Let's correct it. Okay. This stop set user. There is a semicolon here. Okay. Now let's try to compile it. Now we will see whether it is working. We are getting an issue. So actually I did an issue here. If you see here, actually I didn't set the initial state properly here. So the initial state has to be set, okay, because when before it was without this, so the initial state was empty, actually what I returned. So it was not able to get a username from that, and that's why I was getting that issue. Now whenever in the initial stage, when it loads, it will get an initial state like this. So now the app.js can take the username, which is the empty value from here. Okay, now let's go and see. This is the login page. By default we come here, and whenever we set, we are supposed to get the set user. I think set user is not working. So let's see what is happening here. Dot props dot set user, and this set user is taken from this actions. Okay. We can check set user name, right? Whether it is same there or different. User name seems to be same. We'll try to debug it. So I have done a small issue here. It is suppose it was like this, okay. So we maybe I didn't set it. It is supposed to be username, not user. So in the state.username, I was actually creating a new attribute called new state called user, because I have to change it in the existing state, the username. Now we are able to change the username using the Redux store. Okay, maybe if you put now, it will be able to log. Okay, maybe we can see the logic here. The logic login, whenever we do app.js, it should be using props.username, not state.user, because we have removed the user from the state. So it should be props.username. Now it should work based on our logic. It should be logged in, so we should be able to see the home page. User pass feature. We should be able to go inside. Yes, we are able to go inside. So this is how we have implemented React Redux in our. So now let's proceed. So till now we have actually this is my application. Maybe can close this one. Okay. Till now we have moved the state, the username alone to the Redux store. Now we will move completely all the states available here to Redux store. Okay. This employees alone I will do at last, because we have to implement this employees using Redux Thunk. So I will write for set password, login and error now. Okay. So let me first add the actions for all the states, and then I will change it. Okay. Let me go to the actions now. Now similarly you write it for password, right? Set password, and make sure you are given the same name must be mentioned there. Okay. And the value will be password. I will be sending the password from that to the Redux store, right? And other thing is login. Okay. Login, and these will get two values, user name and comma password. And maybe here I will say login, the payload, let it be a the username and password. Anyway, I will have it in the store. I don't think we need to pass it here. I will just say login. That's fine, because anyway the store has the username and password, right? No need to send it, because we already set user and set password. We already have the latest username and password in the state. Okay. So this is login, and for error it should be set error, right? So let it be set error, and we have to pass the error also in the payload. Okay. So let me add it for now. I have added for state as well. Okay, this should be login, and this can be set error. Okay. So I have also passed the error here. So let me now go to the reducer to handle all the actions. So I can better to change it as switch, because I have to handle so many actions. So let me add it as switch here. Actions dot type. dot type. The first case is this one, right? Set user, right? Okay. The second case is set password. I can just copy it here. So the next case is login. Next case is error. Set error, right? That's what we set it there, right? Just copy this also extra. And we also need a default case, right? Default case will be to return the, this is when it first loads up. So I will just return the initial state 1, which is my default state. So now I have done. So password, we are supposed to change the password. We also need to bring in all the states from there to here, right? So other than employees, I will bring everything. Okay. So here the password will be this password, and whatever I had the logic for login, I can copy paste here. So this logic I can copy paste that. To the reducer, right? So login, it should do this logic. It should test whether there is the initial state 1, right? So this will be the latest state. Sorry. Okay. So I have to test. Maybe likewise, I can bring this state to here. I will just copy paste. Now state dot username, right? State dot password. If it is same, then I have to change the logged in, which is present in the state as true. So state dot logged in to true. If else, I will set the error. State dot error equal to not a valid user. Okay. Other thing you have to do is you have to return the latest state. Then only it will get updated. This will get updated as the recent state. Okay. Set error also you can set it. Whatever got it, I can set it. Now we have written all the actions. Okay. Now let's implement it in the app.js. I think so everything is right. Okay. Now what all state I need username, password I need a error and logged in, right? And this can also be sent like in from ES6 you have an option when both are same you can just send it like this. No need to say password colon password. That's not needed. Okay, write this. And I have put all the state I need for the component. Now for the action I need to set the password. Hope I have exported everything. Right? So I can first make it available in the imports. Okay, it is set password. I need set error. I need a login. Okay, I have imported everything. Now you can copy paste this in my current so that all these actions are available. Okay, now we can, instead of local state, we can use props now because all that will be available as props because password is also, this is not needed now. Okay, because this logic already available in the login, right, in the reducer. So I will just call the action this dot props dot login, right? And this dot set state is also not needed. You have to say set password, not state. I want to just, whenever I want to change the state, I will call the actions, right? So I will just call the actions now. Okay. Now for sending what to the, here by this I send it to the login component. So it is not, password is not available in the state anymore, it is available in the props, right? Send this, not, it is this dot props dot, because my action is available in props. Fine. And this dot state dot login, it should be props dot login, and set state for, this is for logout button, it should be I think we have not written anything for this. You can also write the action for that. For logout functionality, you can write action. We will go to the actions first. Just copy this. I will just make it logout. And so it is type logout. Right? Let me go to reducer. And I will add another case now. So it is logout case now. Right? So this dot logged in, that is state. Hope that is state. So it is small n. Can make this also capital N. Okay. Okay. State dot logged in equal to false, so that it will move back to the login page. Hope everywhere it is logged in, else I will get a issue. You can check. Also in the app.js you check whether what I'm asking for logged in, right? It should be correct. And I have to also add this logout. Now you can call that here. Okay, this dot props dot logout. Just call the function. No need to pass any value. Okay, now it's done. It is props dot logged in, right? That's how I'm getting the value, right? For employee, should I change anything? So employees is still maintained here, right? So I'm not doing anything here. Let it be like this. So now let's check whether it is working. Our username is not defined in index.js. So in actions, it is saying in issue called index username is not present. So you can just copy it. Duplicate declaration state. I think I declared many times. Let's go here. We can have the state. And we can remove the state. Because constant does not allow duplicate declaration. Okay, hope this is correct now. See, now it works. Now it seems to work. Okay, I have used constant there. That's the issue. It should be let. Because when you give constant, you can't pre-declare the value, right? So when I give user pass, we can check whether it is able to log in, and it is able to log, right? Logout also works. So we have changed all the state to be coming from Redux store here. Okay. Now other than employees, every state is coming from Redux store. So now next we will see about middleware. Then we'll see about Redux Thunk. In Redux Thunk, we'll understand how to change this employees, because this is going to be asynchronous call. So this has to be handled through Redux Thunk. Okay, let's see that. See that there when we see through Redux Thunk. So next our topic is middleware in Redux Redux. So middleware, if you say this component comes in between actions and the reducer. Before the action uh, reaches the reducer, action is dispatched to the reducer, we have a component called middleware. So this middleware can be used for any login operation or doing any asynchronous operation. So we can stop before the action reaches the reducer, we can stop, and we can add our own login or doing some asynchronous jobs that can be done using this middleware. So now let's proceed. So now you understand what is a middleware. It comes as the diagram depicts. It comes before the action reaches the reducer. Okay. So we can add this middleware in our application and see. Okay. So this is our application. Okay. And we'll open the application. So previously we changed all the state to Redux store other than employees. Now to change employees to Redux store, we need to understand the middleware, and once we understand middleware, we will be able to understand Redux Thunk, which is also a middleware. Okay. So let's see how to add a middleware to our component. So for adding a middleware, let's write, I will write a component. So I will write a component, a function just for login. Before the action reaches to the reducer, I want to log that action. For that, I have to write maybe a store. Okay. A middleware will receive the store as input, and it should return next. It should return a function called next. Okay, with next. So next is nothing but for we were for allowing to proceed to the reducer. Okay, this next function we have to return it, and inside this next we should have another method called action. That is the action for which this middleware was called. Okay, so the next is for allowing, we are getting the function for allowing to proceed to the reducer. Action is for what action it is called. We can actually console log the action. Okay, as I told you, this is, I have written this middleware just for printing the action, nothing else. So this is the action it was called. This can also be used if you want to change the action in any way. If you want to add the action name or something, also this middleware can be used. Now I have just printed the action. Now I will proceed. Allow it to move to the reducer using the next and the action, and it will return a result, right? The result state, right? I will also print the result for you. Result is nothing but the state which was returned from the reducer. Okay. Since we have the store, we can also print the store.getState. This can also be printed. This will also get us the state. Okay, let me print that also, the state. Both should be the same. Now I will return the result. Okay, what I have done is I have you have to add two levels of functions. First function will receive the next, with which you can make the action proceed to the reducer, and the action for which the middleware was called. Okay, now for adding this logger middleware inside our function, you have to add this into the create store. Maybe I can make it before this create store. So I will add apply middleware, and I will add this logger. Now I have added this middleware inside the reducer. So now before the reducer, for any action to the reducer, this middleware will be called. Okay, now let's see whether it is working. Let's proceed to our application. Before that, I have to start the application. So let's wait for it to start. Yeah. Now we have started the application. Now we will open the console. So we should be able to see the console because of the middleware what we added. So whenever we set this, okay, you should see the action, set user action in the payload user, and you should also see you can see it. We are not getting it in the result. We are getting it whatever we set here in the state what we printed. Hope you can see it. So this state is given as the latest state. Okay. The result we are just seeing the action. That's it. Okay. Now if we set the password, that also should get updated in the state. In the state you can see. So this middleware can be used for any logging. Whenever you want to print before it reaches reducer, I just want to print and see the actions. You can do it in the middleware. Now when I log in, that also you will get a state login with now the state you can see logged in is set as. Likewise when you log out, that also will be put in the actions. You can see logged in has changed to false because of this action type logout. Likewise we have type login, type set password, and type set user as well. Okay, hope it is clear. Now let's proceed with Redux Thunk. So now now let's proceed with our next topic, Redux Thunk. So the Redux Thunk we already saw about middleware. The Redux Thunk is also a middleware. Okay, so this middleware actually returns a action creators. Uh, it allows you to this is mostly used for delaying the dispatch of action, mostly for asynchronous functions where we have to wait for the response from the server. For that we use Redux Thunk, and this receives two parameters as inputs, dispatch and get state, okay, which can be used for calling the reducer when we receive the value from the server, or when we are ready with the value. So this, as you know, the middleware, all the middlewares will return a function instead of a action. Okay. So let's now implement Redux Thunk in our application. So as we were discussing, we wanted Redux Thunk. Okay. So the first thing what you need to do is you have to install Redux Thunk. For making use of Redux Thunk, you have to install Redux Thunk. Maybe you can give Redux Thunk. So I need to install we are making use of Redux Thunk to implement the employees. Okay, we because if you see in the app.js, right, we have this state. This state we receive from the server. The employees list we get from the server. This asynchronous activity. Now I want to make it through the Redux Thunk. Okay. Now I have installed Redux Thunk. Okay. So for implementing Redux Thunk, the first thing is you have to install Redux Thunk, that we have done. Then you have to add it in apply middleware in index.js. So first what you have to do is you just import the thunk, import thunk from Redux Thunk. Okay, and you add it as a middleware where we added logger, right? There you add this thunk also. Okay. Now I have added the thunk as a middleware. Now I can write the action asynchronously. Before we have to return synchronously. here all we have returned all the actions synchronously, because this we can't delay it directly. Okay, this whenever set password is called, we are sending at that moment to the reducer. But in case of employees, we don't know the employees yet. We have to get it from the server, so we have to delay that passing to the reducer, because we can pass it to the reducer only when we have the employees, right? So what I will remove it here, because I want to do it via the reducer Redux store. Okay, because I want to do it in actions. Once I receive the employees, I will send it to the reducer to add it to the state. Okay, so let me do it. Let me add actions in the reducer. For that, let me move to the action, and I'm going to write a asynchronous action. Okay, maybe a set employees. Here you have to return not the state, because I want to do it asynchronously, right? I want to return a function here. This function will get the dispatch from the Redux Thunk. As we saw, it will return a function instead of an action. Okay, this instead of, when you use Redux Thunk, it will return a function with dispatch and get state. I am not interested in get state now. For this I don't want get state, so I just am putting dispatch. So dispatch will be called here. It will be inserted by the Redux Thunk here, and in app.js I can copy it, whatever code we had here, right? I can just copy it here. Maybe I can cut it and I can use it in the actions, and I have to import the Axios here. Maybe I will copy the code for Axios from here and paste it here. Now now after I receive the employees, right, I need to dispatch the action. So you can see how using the Redux Thunk we are able to delay the action being called to the reducer, action triggering to the reducer, how we can delay it. So here now, here I have to pass a action creator, not a action directly. So we can put something called constant set employees. Set employee action. Here this should receive the employee. So this will receive the employee data, and this will return the, this will receive the employee data from the dispatch. I will show you now. Maybe I can have the type as set employees, right? And payload as employees. What I received here, it can be employees here. So here I will dispatch this action creator, okay, with the value I received from this server call. It should be employees.data, right? Now you can see using Redux Thunk how I'm able to delay the calling of the action. Okay, so it receives two parameters as we saw, dispatch and get state. Okay, now I will for handling this set employees, I can change the reducer for me. Okay. So now I will copy paste the same here, and I have to change the employees. So what I receive it from the, now the employees also I need to add, and what I receive it from the action.payload. Now this can also be removed here. The employees can also be removed here, and we can have it here, right? We can have it in the reducer. So I have created this is the empty state, and state.employee equal to action.payload. Hope it should work now. Okay, now change that. Now you have to call the action there, right? Whenever this is, and maybe this also need to be imported from actions. Maybe set employees, not set employees action, set employees action. Okay, because set employee action should be called from by the dispatch, right? We can make this available to the props as well, and this set employees you can call it here the props in component will mount. This dot props dot set employees, right? Just call this. You will see now we are able to see the changes there. Now also I have to change the how it is rendered, right? Maybe this dot props dot employees, because then I also need to ask for the employee state, right? This also I have to add. Here also you add, here also you add. Now so these are, no, I'm not interested in all this. This is for altering the name and the employees. Now let's see whether it is working fine for us. So let's move on to the app. We are getting error here. Oh, sorry. Initial state in reducer. It should be like this, right? Okay, now is it working? Reducer action is not defined. It is actions.payload, right? Now it seems to work. Let's see whether we are getting the value. It is user.pass. User pass. Now we are also getting the values through the reducer. Okay, you can see that we are also getting the employees in the we have made the employees from the Redux store now. Okay, that state also we have moved to Redux store with the help of Redux Thunk. Okay, so this is about it. Thank you guys. Have a nice day. Hope you understood Redux Thunk. So hi all, in this session we will try to see the Redux store by using the Chrome plugin. Actually, once I download the plugin, I should see something like this. I should see the all the stores found inside this. Okay, inside this application. So for that, the first step will be just go here and click on Redux Chrome extension and go to the second URL and not the second URL and here it will tell you the instructions. Just go to the latest releases, okay, and from that you download extension.js, which it will be present in 2.17.0. Just press on asserts and extensions.0 zip, okay. So wait for it to download, okay. I already have it downloaded, so let me proceed. And then what you have to go, you just needs to go to Chrome extensions, okay. I will remove the already existing thing for you to show, and here press on load unpacked. After going to Chrome extensions, you select on load unpacked. Before doing that, you just need to unzip it, okay. You can actually what you can do is, maybe you can copy it to maybe you can create a folder here, okay. Maybe you create folder, new folder, new folder, new folder. You rename it as some Redux plugin or something, Redux plugin, okay, and you copy the extension here. I've copied. Now you can extract it here, maybe using some zip or something else. You extract it here. Once it's extracted, you can delete this, because we are going to use this folder in load unpacked, okay. Just go to your again to Chrome extension, and you select on load unpacked, and you selected the folder in which you extracted, that is unzipped, okay. Actually I have it in documents, React Redux plugin. So you just select this folder, and once selected, it will come. By default it will be enabled, have it enabled. Now to enable your application for this for using this plugin, you need to add certain things in your application, okay. For that, the steps are given here, okay. The first line you need to add is, because I am using middleware, I want this advanced store setup, so you can copy this and put it in your system, in your application, okay. Just put this. Now I will just add this line, okay, as mentioned there in the Chrome, as it is mentioned here. Then under advanced store setup, you just copy this line, paste it into your application, and compose you have to add it from Redux, okay. Compose also has to be added from Redux. After that, you have to add this compose enhancer over apply middleware. So you have to add the compose enhancer over apply middleware like this, okay. Let's add that. Then you just over this apply middleware, you just add this, okay. Now that's it, the setup. You have to add these two steps in your application for it to use the Chrome plugin. Once you have done that, you can go to the application, and we should see the store working. So the other step you have to do is, you have to restart your application also. Once you have added all the steps, you just go here and restart your application, okay. Maybe we missed that. You just restart the application and wait for it to load. Once restarted, you can do inspect and go to Redux here, which is mentioned in the development tools. Once you go there, you should be able to see the all the store which is available. Okay, maybe you can see when you type itself, you can see this is the action which is getting passed and what is the state, what is the latest state also you will be able to see. Okay, whenever you set password, you will be able to see the password action going, and for that what is the latest state also. When you press on the latest action, you will be able to see the state also. If I go inside the application also, you should be able to see. So once I log in, the state should change as login. Okay, now if you see the latest state, it should be logged into and the username password, and it should also show the employees, the application state. So this state will give you all the application state. Okay, here you can see the here you can see what is the action getting passed. Here you can see the state, latest state. When you press on that latest action, okay, this is how you have to add the React plugin, Redux plugin into your Chrome browser. Thank you.